back. We are back. We are back. Welcome back, YouTube. Hello again, man. Oh my God, I've been gone for a week. It feels like it's been a month since I've been able to stream on you guys without with nothing happening. You feel me? They put me on a suspension. The last time I saw y'all, we was streaming the dang replays of the Shakur Stevenson fight, and they ended up saying that I violated some guidelines or some policies or something like that. So they gave me my first strike, and for a week I couldn't freaking stream with y'all. You know what I mean? So I'm so happy to be back because y'all are the reason why. You and Twitch are the reason why I really do this. Facebook, it was cool, but there was no engagement at all. I like to talk to my people. And on YouTube, y'all be getting it cracking for your boy. You feel me? So I'm so happy to be back. I'm so happy to be back. So now that we got that out the way, while I was gone from y'all YouTube, I did this video on Facebook and on Twitch about this dude, Tyler Oliveira, and he snuck on the Epstein Island because he was trying to see what was going on. They still had like full on security on the island and all types of stuff like that. And so y'all missed that, but we'll probably be on this stream so that way I don't have to do two different videos. I'm gonna take y'all and let y'all see that video as well after this one. This first video though, we're gonna be watching. It's gonna be coming from Trapmore Ross. And you ready? It said who is living on Epstein Island. So straight to the point. We're gonna get straight to it. Y'all make sure that y'all like, comment, subscribe, share. YouTube, look, right before they cut us off, we was on our way towards 500 subscribers. We're at 409. Let me look, make sure. I'm looking right now. Yeah, we have 409 subscribers right now on YouTube. What do you call it? So y'all keep sharing, commenting, liking, all that good stuff. Make sure y'all hit that notification bell so that y'all don't forget. What do you call it? Or y'all don't miss any of the new streams. And what do you call it? Hit the hype stars too. So what do you call it? YouTube, and then know to put your boy in the algorithm. And let's get back to it, okay? So I'm looking on. Yep, and we are live on you. Oh my God, y'all don't understand how happy I am, man. Put y'all W's in the chat. Let me know who in here. Tell me where you from. W's in the chat. Alright, we good on YouTube. Let me check my Twitch stream real quick. Y'all don't even understand, man. It just makes me so happy to be back on YouTube. Let's have a good stream. Give me 2 seconds here. Okay, yeah, I'm looking here, and we are good on Twitch as well. Heck yeah! Shout out to who we got here. We got one person on Twitch, and I got one person on YouTube. So yeah, let's get it. I'm about to go ahead and get this video right. I learned how to get the audio, so I don't have to use my phone for the audio, and I can look at both phones for both different streams, so I can always see what's going on. You know what I mean? So that's a beautiful thing. If you're on Twitch, it's your first time, make sure that you please follow. We got our first 10 or 11 followers over there. We're trying to build that one up, one stream at a time as well. YouTube, like I said, we have 408. Let's get to this 500 mark this week. All right. Happy Monday. I appreciate y'all tapping back in. Let's get it. Get the screen right for you real quick so y'all can see what I see. I feel like a kid in a candy shop. Y'all don't even understand. I'm so happy to be back on YouTube. Not that I don't like my Facebook. Facebook, we monetized over there, and we got some things that I'm trying to get popping, but they just don't engage like y'all do. You feel me? Y'all make me feel like it's worth it to be doing the streaming, as opposed to just, focusing on making AI videos and posting little clips and trying to get my monetization up through reels and photos and stuff. No, I want to talk. I want to sit here and chill with y'all. You know what I mean? Okay, what was I doing? Oh yeah, the video. And now I don't have to like I said, I don't have to use the other phone for. I learned how. I got the audio right now. You know what I mean? So, all right, let's get it. Trapmore Ross. Shout out at Trotmore Ross. Let me go ahead and just subscribe to him. You know, teamwork make the dream work. We all trying to get our stuff up. You know, he got 388,000 people. I got 408. Let's get it. You know what I mean?
Trapmore gang, there's been a big question that's been on my mind, and it might have been on yours too. Who is running Epstein's island now? Okay, he had this creepy island. They're talking about all kinds of A-minors being on the island, celebrities, politicians, the who's who of the most powerful people on the world were apparently going to this island that he had in the British Virgin Islands, awful name, by the way, and freaking off with him. He's now dead, all right? Jeffrey Epstein is now runts. All right, we're smoking Jeffrey Epstein pack every day, of course. But a lot of questions have remained. Who's still running this island? Who owns this island? Now, we did talk in a previous video where I broke down and basically exposed Jeffrey Epstein's last girlfriend, okay, and how she was basically inheriting millions of dollars, you know, land from him, property. So this is an article. Basically, he wanted to leave the PDF island to his girlfriend, okay, and basically Karina Shuliak, who I exposed in a previous video, from what I understand, she may well have inherited the island, but the island was actually sold. Okay, this basically was a little news report on his island being flipped. All right, is this, I feel like this isn't going to be about what I think it is. But basically, okay, his private US Virgin Islands location was up for sale, okay? Asking price 125 million, according to two sources. The executors of the estate basically listed the two private Caribbean islands that he owned off the coast of St. Thomas in the US Virgin Islands. An attorney for the estate told ABC News. He purchased the private island in 1998 for only $8 million, and it was being sold for 125 million. Can we just stop these creeps making this much money? It's ridiculous. Is there no way to stop these awful, despicable, deplorable scumbags from just running it up more than everybody else? I mean, that's wild. 8 million? Are you having a laugh? Anyway, he established his permanent residence there in 2010, also a tax haven, around the time he was released from his first jail sentence in Palm Beach, Florida. He liked to refer to his estate there as Little St. Jeff's, according to testimony that emerged during the criminal trial of Ghislaine Maxwell. Now, he later acquired ownership of a larger neighboring island, Great St. James, and was in the process of building a new estate there at the time of his 2019 arrest, but unfortunately he couldn't finish that because he got turned in to cookies, okay? So the islands are currently encumbered by criminal activity liens placed by Denise George, the U.S. Virgin Islands Attorney General, who in early 2020 filed a civil racketeering suit against the estate, and the suit alleged that Epstein created a network of shell companies, charitable organizations, and individuals that participated in and conspired with him in a decades-long pattern of criminal activity tied to alleged trafficking of minor girls and young women. Epstein, through and in association with defendants, trafficked, R-worded, essayed, and held captive underage girls and young women at his properties in the Virgin Islands. What a scumbag, okay? But it was beautiful. It's a beautiful island, but it was horrendously ugly what happened there. The news reported earlier this month that lawyers for Epstein's estate were in settlement talks with the U.S. Virgin Islands government, and one estate attorney described the two sides as being extraordinarily close to reaching a negotiated resolution. A lawyer for the estate, Daniel Weiner, all right, you definitely got to be a wiener to be working on Epstein's estate, confirmed to ABC News that the properties were listed for sale and the proceeds of any sale would be used by the estate for the resolution of any outstanding lawsuits and the regular costs of the estate's operations, and will be subject to potential claims by tax authorities, creditors, and other parties. The proceeds will be held in liened accounts, Weiner said, pending the resolution of the government's lawsuit. The estate previously unloaded two of Epstein's other properties, his Palm Beach Island seaside home and his Upper East Side Manhattan townhouse. Two other properties, Zorro Ranch in New Mexico and Avenue Foch apartment in Paris, are also for sale. The marketing of the islands is being handled by New York firms The Modeling Group and Bespoke Real Estate in partnership with U.S. Virgin Islands-based Christie's International Real Estate.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it, just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44.
I don't think y'all understand even with this little stuff like this, like having to not have to line up my phone audio with what's going on my computer screen off my laptop that I'm streaming from, like to be able to do it all in one shot right off the laptop. It's just making me so happy. And I'm sure there's another way for me to be able to open up the chat on one side, what do you call it? And then, but I'll just do that on the phone, you know, so that way we don't have nothing blocking our screens. But bruh, progression, baby. Progression. Let's get it.
Okay. If I had the bread, I would have bought the island, right? We would have put it right and we would have had nothing but good, clean, honest fun on there. Now, the islands did apparently sell. Okay, it says billionaire investor buys Epstein's private islands for 60 million. So they ended up having to take half of what they wanted, 125 million down to 60 million. Still pretty good profit from 8 million, but you can't enjoy it when you are living in a spliff. Okay, so it said Stephen Dekoff, the founder of Black Diamond Capital Management, said he wanted to build a 25-room resort on the islands once owned by the disgraced financier and registered ex-offender Epstein. Now, I feel like the best use of this island would be to actually preserve some of the things on there and create sort of like a museum of the most depraved individual not to ever live, because there's been worse people than him, unfortunately. But it basically, you can see the properties on the coast. The billionaire investor has paid 60 million to buy his island residences off the coast of St. Thomas. Okay, the investor paid 50% less than the listing price, and a portion of the sales will go to a $105 million settlement that Mr. Epstein, the estate, reached last year with the government of the U.S. territory in the Caribbean. Mr. Dekoff, the founder of Black Diamond Capital Management, an investment firm with $9 billion under management, so this is chump change to him, really. Okay, they've got offices in Stamford, Connecticut, London, Mumbai, and St. Thomas in the U.S. Virgin Islands. He acquired the islands through an investment vehicle called SD Investments. I wonder what SD stands for. Scumbag devolution. I don't know. Anyway, it says Mr. Dekoff, okay, in a news release, said he planned to build a 25-room resort. I want to hear more. I want to hear more. What are you going to do with it? One of the islands, Little St. James, where Mr. Epstein lived for the better part of 2 decades and became tarnished by allegations that it had been a place where he essayed teenage girls. The other island, Great St. James, is less developed. The release didn't specify which island that he was intending to build his resort, and at the time of Epstein's death, his estate was valued at around 600 million. When the estate did reach that civil settlement with the Virgin Islands government, the assets had fallen in worth to about 159 million, and in the years since his death, the estate paid out more than 160 million to 125 victims of his essay that had spanned decades. Many of the victims were young girls. So this is basically just a recap of what we already knew. It said an affiliated entity of Black Diamond is listed as a beneficiary of a lucrative tax incentive that's intended to spur economic development in the U.S. Virgin Islands. The tax incentive has been granted to dozens of businesses that operate in the territory, and 2 of Epstein's companies, when they were in operation, were beneficiaries of similar tax incentives from the Virgin Islands. So these guys all stick together, all right? They get their tax... They get their little tax breaks, their little finesses, okay, and good for them, right? Finesses. They get what they need. Anyway, okay. Essentially, there's been a lot of investigation as far as actually who is running things, who's occupying the island, what is going on there, and there's been some pretty interesting videos and pieces of media that basically just break down the history of actually what's going on the island, people that have actually gone there recently, and what's actually transpiring as this island is under new ownership. Now, basically, there was a video by the YouTuber Rotten Mango, okay, shout out to her, where she basically gave a detailed description of the island's atmosphere and reputation based on, people that have been there.
Little St. James, that's Epstein's island, but the locals all call it Pedophile Island. It's a 70-acre island.
See, the locals call it PDF Island, all right? Why did this take so long to get broken down? It's ridiculous.
Island in the U.S. Virgin Islands. And it makes Jeffrey Epstein one of the very, very small group of incredibly wealthy people that own private islands. Epstein bought Little St. James for about $15 million. Besides the main house, the island has 3 guest cottages, a caretaker and a groundkeeper's cottage, a private water filtration system utility building, a helipad, a dock, multiple swimming pools, tennis court, an enclosed lagoon, golf carts to take guests from place to place, a staff of 70 to cater to every guest's needs. But the most interesting building is a square box building on the isolated part of the island. Imagine a square, but it's blue and white stripes. It's got a gold dome at the top with 2 gold statues. It was on the most isolated part of the island. There are rumors circulating that he conducted sacrifices in there. That's where the...
In the video that I'm going to show y'all after this, when Tyler Olivier, when he broke onto it, apparently they have painted over this and made it all white, and it's boarded up with steel and wood on the 2 entrances or whatever. Like, it don't look the same at all.
Children were taken for essay or to be killed.
That is absolutely wild. Okay, now interestingly enough, okay, there's been disturbing footage captured of some of the interiors on the island. And this is apparently from the Epstein files of him. This is a kind of a video that was going viral of him apparently chasing someone underage around I think this was a kitchen on the island. On a kitchen island on the island. Okay, it's ironic. But this is kind of disturbing footage. This is the type of thing that was going around, him chasing women around his Little St. James Island home.
out there living his best little.
So this is
sit
not the man
life.
you want chasing you, and this is not the island you want to be getting chased around. Okay, it is pretty crazy. But basically, okay, as time went on, all right, around the time of Epstein's high-profile arrest and death, funnily enough, okay, a drone pilot would make their way to the island and actually capture footage of federal authorities collecting evidence on the island. And this has been very controversial. And ever since Epstein has been turned into cookies, he has been the subject of various snoopers that have gone to the island to try and get a deep dive and dig into what's going on
It's
there.
late afternoon in the Caribbean, and a drone is flying towards a small island. The drone approaches a white house with a blue roof. It starts looking for a spot to peep inside. Why was the drone spying on this house? Well, it belonged to financier Jeffrey Epstein, who had died in a jail cell just 2 days before.
Disgraced American financier Jeffrey Epstein has been found dead in his prison cell.
Inside the house, the drone camera finds men and women wearing shirts that read FBI and NYPD. They are raiding the place. They're boxing up evidence. But after a minute or two, the agents inside start covering the window up with cardboard sheets to stop the drone from peeping inside. Unperturbed, the drone sweeps up and over the house to the nearby jetty, where the agents and police officers are preparing to load evidence onto a boat. In Epstein's residences, they found lots of CCTV cameras all over the place.
Epstein used to record the behaviours that went on his island, and therefore there probably are tapes around.
The evidence in the boxes collected that day from the island and in similar raids at Epstein's mainland properties form what is now
They talk
known
about Diddy. Could you
as...
imagine
The
tape-
full and complete
He got- at
Epstein
least Diddy
files.
wasn't
We're still
around here
waiting to
with a
see
bunch
the
of
full
little
and complete
kids.
Epstein files, and in the absence of information, conspiracy theories sweep in to fill in the gaps.
It's unbelievable. The guy killed himself, and now nobody's going to know.
Even the person who flew the drone over Epstein's island got caught up in this. People online started speculating that the fugitive founder of McAfee antivirus software was the drone's pilot. He denied it and then died by apparent suicide in a Spanish prison in 2021.
Stop it. He denied it and then he died of... Oh, please stop.
Which will certainly help deal with any conspiracy theories.
Oopsie. Another one bites the dust. Okay.
All right, look, I don't know who needs to hear this, but my man just tried that new 100 milligram
Appreciate y'all
generic
tuning back in.
Viagra for
Appreciate,
only 87 cents a
YouTube,
pop from Friday
letting
Plans.
me
We was
stream
having
again.
problems in the bedroom,
Jeez.
straight up.
Okay, so
I was feeling
the
lost
public
out
would
here,
finally
man.
get a glimpse
Shout
of
out
the
to my
interior
Twitch.
of the property in 2025. Okay, this basically included dental rooms, and we've talked a lot about dentistry being a part of what was going on there. So this was apparently released by the Democrats. I guess you got to specify that. And this is a different subreddit. This is r/Jeffrey Epstein. I need to join this. Rational Epstein community. All right, civil, intelligent, evidence-driven discussion. None of the crazy stuff that you're going to be seeing here. But anyway, this says the Democrats actually released the footage, these images of Epstein's island home. What does this say? Plants, truth, appear, music, deception, power. Let's say intellectual, some physics, maybe finance, political, something in face, time, just the scrawlings of a madman. Beautiful room. I guess this is like a little classroom. He probably would do a little bit of teaching here when he pretends to know about finance, even though he seemed like a pretty amateur financial operator. This is some kind of shower, sauna type room. This is quite interesting. I bet a lot of nasty stuff went on there. They're saying no trespassing. Trespassers will be prosecuted. Fortunately, some brave souls did continue to trespass there and basically do their thing. That's his phone. It's got instant speed dial to New York office, Darren's cell, Rich's office, Mike's cell, blank cell, Patrick's cell, blank office, Larry's cell. And then he's got all of his other lines there. Very interesting. I wonder who the redacted names are. Now, this is kind of like, I guess, around like a pool area. He has this sort of like light blue roof motif going on. And it was look, I'm not saying it was good what went down there, but it was a beautiful island, right? Dentistry room. We've seen this before. His girlfriend was a dentist. There's people that are making speculations that if teeth was getting removed, all sorts of things, all right? This is one of the bedrooms. Now, what's interesting is obviously we heard a minute ago there were loads of cameras all over here, and there's obviously going to be hella nefarious, creepy stuff that was filmed, and that definitely hasn't appeared in the Epstein files. We got these files heavily redacted. We're seeing Epstein chase people around the kitchen, but we're not seeing anyone freaking off in hidden camera footage recorded in the rooms. I understand why,
Freaking
but
off.
we definitely have not got the complete Epstein files, that's for sure. You know, more rooms. I mean, I'm a big fan of bathtubs. That is a beautiful looking bathtub. Unfortunately, this bathtub probably had bodies on it. But, you know, nice little four-poster bed. I mean, the design and the decor was pretty exquisite. People saying all of his properties look the same, somehow both tacky and sterile. If you showed me pics of his properties but didn't tell me whose they were, I'd be creeped out immediately. Also, is that a dentist office? Maybe an esthetician's office? Either way, what the F? Okay, saying, ayo, what the F? It's super creepy, right? Says a very small bit of information has come to light with all these photos, letters, and emails that Epstein couldn't spell for shit. He was a whiz at math. Doesn't need to be a good writer, it seems. The lack of windows is horrifying. I want to know whose faces are on the wall around the barbershop chair. That's a dentist chair. Looks like some eyes wide shut Squid Game shit. Rich douchebags always have the worst taste in decor. People confused about the dentist chair. Now we know, though. Now we know. I want to see the blacked out names on the phone. And why is Patrick not blacked out? Right? I've always wondered. I thought there was probably wealthy donors for both Republicans and Democrats who visited the islands. Redacting the names on the phone makes me think, not trying to have problems with the big man. Okay, all right. I'm scared. Maybe one day. All right, maybe one day we'll get into it. But anyway, now interestingly enough, all right, I've already told you about the property share, you know, exchanging hands and things like that. And, you know, if you want to know more about his girlfriend that allegedly briefly inherited the island before it got sold, you can go and watch the video that I did on that. But what's interesting is that in August of 2025, Inside Edition actually visited the island and showcased that there were workers still there. But interestingly enough, there was no visible work on the apparent resort that billionaire was going to build. No progress, no visible anything was going on. What's going on with the island? Look at this.
This boat captain, Guy Dom, ferried Epstein to and from the island.
There was a time I took Jeffrey Epstein's party of 4 out here to the island. And it's basically a woman about his age and a couple of girls that looked like they were 13, 14, maybe 15 years old, sisters. And I dropped them off. Didn't think anything of it.
Guy Dom says at the time, he assumed that the passengers were Epstein's wife and kids. It wasn't until later that he learned Epstein didn't have a family.
It dawned on me, if those aren't his kids, maybe those were victims.
He gave us a tour of the island, which is just a 10-minute boat ride from St. Thomas in the Virgin Islands.
Up on the hill here, we see Jeffrey Epstein's bedroom. Part of the bedroom has a desk in it so he could do work in there.
He shared this video with us he took inside of Epstein's bedroom. There's his desk and bed. And look at this. For some reason, he even had an office meant for an eye doctor. The island is now owned by a billionaire investor who bought it 2 years ago for $60 million. He reportedly plans to turn it into a luxury 25-room resort, which explains the presence of all those workers. A temple that Epstein built at the top of the island has been boarded up and painted over. When Inside Edition producer Will Evans tried to speak to the workers, they didn't have anything to say.
We're just curious what's going on with the island. Are you guys doing renovations, upkeep? What's going on?
This patrol boat started tailing us.
They started following us when we left, and they really don't seem to want us around.
Epstein Island, a place that this boat captain would rather forget.
So you can't go there without being tailed, without being followed. And several other YouTubers have snuck their way onto the island, and respect to them, okay? Just at the start of this year, on January the 30th, 2026, the YouTuber Nico Grigg attempted to get near the island, and they actually captured a couple of people that were apparently living there in the video. Look at this.
Things happened on that island. So at this point, we actually ended up changing our plan. JC and Bragan were distracting our instructor, Eric, so Matt and I decided to just start driving towards Epstein Island, even though Eric told us not to go anywhere near it. But as we were getting closer to Epstein Island, I seen Eric in the corner of my eye speeding towards Matt, and he stopped us.
We are so close. Oh my God. There's a girl looking at me. What the f am I looking at, bro?
Who are these people, bro? What do you know?
Oh, they're calling the cops.
That lady's still looking, bro.
She's taking pictures of us.
Feeling lonely and looking for a significant someone, but dating sites don't work for you? Tired?
My thing is this, man. What type of people, like, knowing what kind of stuff allegedly went on that island and went on in that house, with a clear head, like, who could actually stay in there and actually go to sleep, like, without feeling like, ugh, Yeah, it's a beautiful island, but damn, I don't know, bro. I don't know.
I gotta say cheese. Oh, GC.
So look, you can't get close to the island without getting paparazzi, basically. So he apparently received a message saying, "Hello, I work at Little St. James. We saw you today. If you try and come on, we will have you arrested and detained." Now, interestingly enough, there's another brave soul, Tyler Oliveira, okay, legendary YouTuber,
this is the one I saw.
controversial YouTuber, but we won't get into that today. He truly did sneak onto Jeffrey Epstein's island, and he actually ran up on the creepy temple. Okay, real deal spill. He actually did this. This one's crazy.
All right,
okay?
good. I ain't got to do this.
Oh, look at that. No, I think my YouTube's malfunctioning today.
That's me running towards the satanic temple of the evil billionaire Jeffrey Epstein on his private island swarming with security.
Oh my God, I've been detected. Shoot me if you dare! What are you?
He did real deal spill get up there, okay? He actually climbed onto the island. He walked right up there, okay? And he said that he could see people. He got chased by security. Look at this.
There's the arches right there.
They're running up. The wrong fucking turn. I made it to the beach.
He's lucky, man. If he wasn't careful, he could have been meeting Jeffrey Epstein, if you know what I mean.
Undetected, and I was headed towards the temple. Now, with this temple as the source of the signal interference, it was only logical that there might be something hiding there waiting for me to find. And keep in mind, this is a rough map of the island, and right now I'm here. And this is where I'm headed, forcing me to essentially sneak up a cliff to hopefully avoid security. Don't get fucking arrested. Jesus.
So there was security on the island. He did eventually make his way up there, and look at this.
A literal mountain to Epstein's temple, still somehow undetected.
Just ran up in there. Respect.
Undetected this far still. You think they'd buy security cameras or something?
With only the open road standing between me and the temple, it was time to go for it.
We made it to the temple. We made it to the temple. Undetected this far. This is the temple where crazy stuff went down. Look at this place. Blocked off by steel. Blocked off by wood. Tasha, over there.
Come on, Tyler.
God, if you're alive, protect me. Came through there. Weaved my way all the way up to here. Look at this. There's a giant cliff here, by the way. Giant cliff, and then everything's boarded off. The entire place looks to be repainted. It used to be blue and yellow. A ladder right here, almost as if they just repainted the place. And it is literally pure white now. Someone took a dump right there. This is the place where evil things went down. In this temple right here, there used to be a giant sun compass that was removed, apparently. There's a bonfire right here. Maybe where they burned people alive or not. I've gotten up here successfully, undetected. There's there's like a speaker right there. But beyond that, seems to be low-level security right now. Okay, there's a sailboat coming in right there. That's not what we want to see. Right now, it's a race against time. Hopefully, I don't get to jail. Horrid things went down here. Look at all these benches. Very out-of-place benches, right? You have benches right here, bench right there, bench right there, bench right there. Look at that. This makes no sense. I'm gonna go back down, see if we can examine the estate. This time, I might have to go blitzkrieg. Now I just need to run. My pants are nearly falling off. Looks like an unfinished construction pathway. Let's see what's...
Now, he ends up getting clocked by the security, and he has to really do the dash. All right, he has to actually get to it.
I'm running. I'm running. I'm running. Not fast enough,
As I ran away from security, I saw this.
Oh no, they got me. I need to run. I need to run.
Now, he did make it off the island, okay? You don't need to see him just getting sweaty running around, all right? But he did literally make it off the island, jumps into the sea.
To jump.
I'm going there. You can't see back going into the water. Watch these pick me up. Okay, made it into the water. Security. Just out there. I'm swimming as fast as I can. Wait for Pasha to pick me up. Come on, Pasha.
So clearly there's goons, clearly there's security on the island. Now, what's really interesting, okay, is apparently, all right, when YouTubers and other people have been going to the island over the years, all right, even though the island has allegedly been sold, there's an unverified photo that's making the rounds where somebody actually claims that they have taken a photograph of Epstein's surviving girlfriend, Karina, all right, apparently on the island.
See, that's who I thought
This is a text that's going around. It's unverified. It says, Karina, I hope my message finds you well. It's been so long. Dear Karina, you are so gorgeous. How's the weather on the island? All right, that would be creepy as hell. All right, I'm not going to lie. I don't know if that looks quite like her, but she's probably aged a bit. She's probably been stressed out with everything going on. But there's been a lot of discussion, especially on Reddit, about who's still occupying the island. This particular photo, okay, it says, who are the people currently on the island? It says, and why does no one seem to care? People who have tried to sneak in obviously have seen the security. That's expected, but some videos also capture a female casually walking in a bathrobe. You don't tell me that's a female security guard be just changing out like that in the mansion. Besides, who's paying for security on the island? Is it US government or who? There seems to be no presence of federal agents, just a private security company. company. People saying the current owner, specifically his daughter, okay, they're saying, I heard they were going to convert into an adult retreat, which is odd considering it's a past. What's old is new again. But they're saying maybe that's the daughter of the guy that bought it. He was saying, I don't understand why it was able to be bought and sold so quickly when so much happened on that island. It really shows the government's complicity. The same with Epstein's ranch that wasn't raided. It was all sold quickly. Okay. Now, it's interesting. I would have thought the government would have seized these assets, held onto them for evidence and investigation. What's more, what about Great St. James? He owned that island. It's much bigger and much harder to reach than St. James. He destroyed several hundred years of architectural buildings. Nobody's gotten access. Now, that's the other island that apparently, I think they were both sold together, funnily enough, and I don't think that island was developed, so I don't know if that one's really a smoking gun. It says, the people who posted this initially, the ones who snuck on the island, give me such a bad feeling. YouTube accents. I do think it's a bit of a gimmick just for views. However, any publicity on Epstein is good publicity to wake up the world. The whole island needs to be dug up and the waters around it investigated too. It's effed up that someone could just be casually living on one of the most prolific crime scenes in history, especially with that floor opening that goes straight to the ocean. My bad. So the history of the island is interesting. Whenever I comment about it, the engagement analytics tank. That's fascinating. Okay, it says, why is this island allowed to be sold? It's literally evidence in a trafficking ring and also a murder case. So yeah, all right, you get the gist. All right, look, the island is still going. It's still popping. There's still people there. Let me know what you guys think. Okay, should I pull up to the island? I don't know if I'm brave enough to do that, to be completely honest with you guys. I don't know if I've got the stones to pull up to the island, but shout out to the YouTubers that did. I know people find YouTubers annoying like that, but I do actually respect to have the stones to go to such a horrifying and scary place. So let me know what you thought of that video, man. I will dig deeper into another aspect of the Epstein files later today, and then I'm going to wrap it up. Hope you enjoyed that breakdown, and I'll catch you in the next one, guys. Peace.
What if you can create your own website by saying, this is what I want? With Wix, you can.
After the bombshell release of the Epstein files.
All right, man. If you like the video so far, make sure y'all press the like button. So happy to be back on YouTube, man. Thank y'all for tuning in. Make sure y'all press the subscribe, comment, share, notification bell, and hit the hype star so that way that they put the brother in our algorithm. I did this thing on this dude breaking in on the Epstein Island. His name was Tyler Oliveira. So Trapmore, he showed a little bit of the footage of that. So I don't have to do that part right now. But I'm just figuring, let's see. Shocking FBI findings. FBI drops bombshell on Epstein trafficking network. Okay, so yeah, let's watch this real quick, and then I'm going to go ahead and probably close this one out. But this is my first one back, my first stream back on YouTube. So thank y'all for tuning in. Shout out at Law and Crime Network. I think this is Jesse Weber that's narrating this one right now. So they said the FBI drops bombshell on Epstein trafficking network. So we're just gonna do one big Epstein freaking stream and get it over with, so I don't have to break it all up and do new ones. You feel me? All right. Anyway, let's get it.
These past few weeks, one of the biggest takeaways now is that the FBI reportedly could not find any evidence that Jeffrey Epstein trafficked girls to others, to the rich, to the powerful, to the elite. Now, many of you might be saying, what? How can that be true? Is that really true? Let's try to get to the bottom of it. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. All right, before we jump into this, have you heard the breaking news? A recent report from Forbes shows that employees who use AI at work, they are earning 40% more than those who don't. Yeah, AI is changing employment, and right now it really matters because the early adopter phase, that's over. So the question is simple. Are you going to watch this shift or are you going to win from it? Outskill is the first ever AI-focused educational platform for AI learning, and they are hosting a 2-day AI mastermind training live this Saturday and Sunday, 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern, and right now is the perfect time to join because you can get in free for the next 48 hours. This 16-hour AI training has already built 10 million plus AI professionals across all industries, and by the way, is rated 4.9 stars on Trustpilot. You're going to learn to build AI agents that plan, write, and execute for you, automate workflows, connect tools like Sheets and emails to create systems, get a boost at work with the hours that you save, and you're going to learn to profit from those skills. People from this training have launched AI services that bring in $2,000 to $3,000 a week. You're also going to get the AI Prompt Bible, the AI Profit Roadmap, a personal AI toolkit builder, and the 2026 AI Survival Hackbook. This is a guide of upcoming AI shifts and steps to take to be prepared. Now, seats are limited. Use the link in the description to join, plus join our WhatsApp community to stay updated. As someone who's been following all aspects of the Epstein saga, particularly the latest release of the Epstein files pursuant to the Epstein Files Transparency Act, the question I keep asking is, could someone else have been prosecuted? I mean, that's one of the big questions, right? Is there evidence that Jeffrey Epstein was trafficking girls to other powerful men? Well, according to the Associated Press's review of the files, the FBI says no. And we looked into it too, and based on some of the files we found, it seems that's true, that the FBI says there's no evidence. That the FBI, they looked at the bank records, they looked at emails, they interviewed victims, they searched Epstein's properties, and there is no evidence that he trafficked girls to other people. Even though, by the way, he was brought up on sex trafficking of minors charges, and then Ghislaine Maxwell was subsequently charged and convicted in her own trial. She was convicted essentially of trafficking victims to just Jeffrey Epstein. She was sentenced to 20 years in prison, and we know that Epstein died before going to trial. But it's always been, it was just to him, that he wasn't farming out or lending out girls or women to other people. Now, according to this new article from the Associated Press, the FBI claims there was no videos, no photos from his places in New York, Florida, the Virgin Islands, Jeffrey Epstein's island, nothing.
A bunch of people in this office started using Riverside to easily make a podcast. I don't listen to any of them.
Nothing depicting any other people abusing these girls, these victims. Here's actually a good way to describe it. There is this email to then Deputy Director of the FBI, Dan Bongino. The sender is redacted. We can't see that, but this is dated March 20th, 2025, and it states, the case agents and AUSAs, that's Assistant United States Attorneys, ensure that all videos and images from the case file and from Epstein's residences and devices were reviewed for evidence of a crime. Those reviews revealed no evidence from any of the searches we conducted or any of the files we reviewed that any videos or other images exist of any victims in this case being sexually abused. Nor did those reviews reveal any evidence that anyone other than Epstein and Maxwell participated in the sexual abuse of victims in this case. We are aware of the theory circulated in the media and online that Epstein video recorded the abuse of his victims, including by other men, but we have found no evidence to support that theory. Indeed, had we found such videos...
Is Epstein over here paying off the government from below the grave? He still got him in his pocket even when he dead? Or is he somewhere ducked off trying to get his life rebuilt back up so he can come out like Machiavelli? All right.
We certainly would have used them as evidence in the criminal cases we investigated and prosecuted and would have pursued any leads they generated. We did not, however, locate any such videos. Below, please find more details about the video evidence gathered during this investigation. During the searches of Epstein's New York residence and USVI residence in 2019, United States Virgin Islands, the FBI searched for videos and surveillance cameras. My understanding from the case agent is that there were no cameras found inside any bedrooms or living areas of either residence. I understand that surveillance cameras were located near the entrances of the residences. I also understand that the surveillance systems only retain video for a limited period of days, and that the only recordings available were very recent surveillance from 2019 and would thus not have depicted anything relevant to our investigation, which focused on the 1990s and early 2000s. Accordingly, those surveillance videos were not seized because they were not responsive to the warrants allowing the FBI to seize only certain evidence from those premises. The FBI had no legal authority to seize recent surveillance videos from 2019 under the warrants issued by SDNY and USVI courts. During the searches of Epstein's residences in 2019, the FBI seized a large number of CDs, some hard copy photographs, and at least one videotape containing nude images of females, some of whom appeared to possibly be minors in their late teens. The case agents reviewed all of those images, and they were all made available to Maxwell's counsel for review and discovery. None of the images depicted sexual abuse, and none depicted any males with any of the nude females. Some of these images included nude photographs of victims who were the focus of Maxwell's trial, and we marked some of those photographs as sealed exhibits for trial. The victims are alone in these photos. Because those images contain sensitive photos of victims of sexual abuse, they have never been released publicly. As I referenced in my email to you this morning, the FBI and SDNY, Southern District of New York prosecutors, the FBI and the SDNY undertook a full review of all electronic devices seized from Epstein's residences and incident to his arrest in 2019. As part of that review, a team of FBI agents, FBI analysts, SDNY AUSAs, and SDNY paralegals divided up the review of over 1 million images and videos that FBI CART extracted from Epstein's devices. The reviewers all followed the same protocol for the review, which involved at least one member of the review team personally reviewing each image and video extracted from each device and determining whether the image or video was responsive to the search warrants in the case. In an effort to be as broad as possible, the protocol directed reviewers to identify as responsive, among other things, any image or video depicting any female who appeared to be under the age of 30. As a result of that review, any image or video on any of Epstein's devices depicting any potential victim was identified as responsive and saved. The case agent collected and maintained a copy of all images and videos identified responsive through this search. Attached, please find the index detailing how many images and videos were identified responsive to the warrants and what designation they received under the protective order in the Maxwell case. Note that materials designated highly confidential contained nudity. Please also note that this index does not include Epstein's iPhone and 6 iPads, which were reviewed on Cellbrite using the same protocol for videos and images described above. Although that review identified many images and videos that were responsive to the warrants in our criminal investigation, none depicted the sexual abuse of any victim, and none revealed any perpetrator or perpetrators of sexual abuse other than Epstein and Maxwell. The Palm Beach Police Department video recorded interviews of victims at the police station. Video recorded parts of their search of Epstein's Palm Beach residence and also seized a small number of videos from Epstein's Palm Beach residence. All of those videos were transferred to the FBI's custody, are part of the case file, and were reviewed by the AUSAs and case agents during our investigation. None of these videos depict the abuse of any victims or provide evidence suggesting anyone other than Epstein and Maxwell participated in the abuse of victims. SDNY introduced the video recording of the search of Epstein's Palm Beach residence as an exhibit at trial. None of the videos identified above contained potential CSAM, child sexual abuse material. As noted above, there was no videos of any sexual abuse identified at any point in the investigation. There were, however, approximately a dozen photographs containing CSAM found on one of Epstein's devices. Those images were identified by the case agent as CSAM that Epstein obtained over the internet, not CSAM depicting any of Epstein's victims or produced by Epstein. A copy of those images was maintained by the case agent in the case file with the other images and videos seized and identified responsive during the review of Epstein.
Could you imagine Jeffrey Epstein's search history on his browser? Oh, man.
Epstein's devices detailed above. Okay, here's another memo. Quote, in September 2019, FBI and SDNY met with victim redacted. FBI and SDNY were able to verify that Maxwell recruited her and that she was being sexually abused by Epstein and Maxwell and that she recruited other minors. FBI and SDNY were not able to corroborate or verify her reports of being lent out to other men. Her statements regarding being directed to have sex with other men was inconsistent with statements made by other victims and witnesses, in particular her statements regarding being lent out to men with another victim. The other victim denied this occurring. Now, in the spirit of that, there is a July 10th, 2025 email titled, quote, response to director's call. So you wonder if this is FBI Director Kash Patel. And all the names are redacted, but it says, how many victims alleged other men or women abused them? Approximately 4 to 5 victims accused other adult men sexually abused them. There was not enough evidence to federally charge these individuals, so the cases were referred to local law enforcement. Approximately 4 to 5 victims accused other adult women to have taken part in sexual abuse, threesome with the minor, including Epstein's girlfriend, who was approximately 18 to 20 years of age at the time. The girlfriend was interviewed, proffered, but it was determined there was not enough evidence to charge. Now, who that girlfriend could be, I can speculate. I'm not going to say here, but let me add this. There's a 2019 memo regarding co-conspirators or potential co-conspirators. Like, for example, French model scout Jean-Luc Brunel, who was accused of abusing women out in Europe. He died by his own hand, by the way, while awaiting trial. Here's what the memo says. Jean-Luc Brunel, owner of MC Model Agency, SDNY, is currently in contact with his attorneys and a subpoena has been served. There is limited evidence regarding his involvement. What about Les Wexner? We've talked about him before, the retail guru behind Victoria's Secret, Abercrombie & Fitch. Apparently, Epstein managed his finances at one point. He's always come up as a known associate. Quote,
I walked in here with 4 teeth at the bottom of my mouth. The rest were all out. They were out for like 5 years.
Leslie Wexner resides in Ohio. SDNY is currently in contact with his attorneys and a subpoena has been served. There is limited evidence regarding his involvement. Now, all of this may be very surprising and shocking when you consider the breadth of accusers who have come forward against Epstein and, of course, Epstein's connections to the rich and the powerful, and especially when we consider how many emails there are where Epstein or Maxwell converse with these individuals. And let me tell you, some of them are incredibly disgusting and creepy communications. We've covered it here on Sidebar. There has been fallout. But it doesn't mean that if you knew him or talked with him or hung out with him, that you were necessarily involved in criminal activity or even knew about criminal activity, or that there could be a successful prosecution against you. There might not be enough evidence, but obviously this conclusion by the FBI is very surprising. Now, to be clear, as outlined by the AP, there was evidence that the feds were potentially building cases against alleged co-conspirators. The big issue is a lot of those allegations couldn't be verified. And that includes, and I'm not sure if that memo I read before was referring to the late Virginia Roberts Giuffre. It might have been, because despite claiming that Epstein had coordinated her to be engaged in sex acts with other men, including former Prince Andrew, the files show investigators thought there was a credibility issue, even though they believe she was a victim of Epstein himself. They cite a memo that said no other victim was described being expressly directed by either Maxwell or Epstein to engage in sexual activity with other men. According to the AP, when investigators looked at Epstein's bank records, there was no evidence either. For example, yeah, they found payments to all of these models, but there wasn't evidence that he was engaging in prostitution of girls or women to other men. And then we have the client list, right? This idea that circulated that Epstein kept this little black book of everyone he trafficked girls to, right? You look at the AP, they correctly note that this was confusing because Attorney General Pam Bondi told Fox News in February of 2025, when she just got into the position, that the client list was, quote, sitting on my desk right now. But then it was only a few months later in July when the FBI and the DOJ issued a memo stating that after they reviewed all of the Epstein materials, this systematic review revealed no incriminating client list. And that is further amplified in a December 30th, 2024 communication. All the names are redacted, but the memo does address what's known as CACHTU. This is the FBI's Crimes Against Children and Human Trafficking Unit, okay? I'll just call it the unit. So it goes like this. This is the email. Quote, the deputy asked whether our investigation to date indicates the client list, often referred to in the media, does or does not exist. Here's the response. This CACHTU, this unit, spoke to the case agent and confirmed no client list existed. An address book was entered into evidence at trial, but it is not a client list as depicted in the media. The current status of the investigation into Epstein is concluded, and the case is pending inactive. Now, the address book being something that has been in the public for quite some time, this is Epstein's contact list. Again, to be clear, doesn't mean that those people were involved in criminal activity of any kind. But obviously, this is a big conclusion. This is a big development. This is something people have been waiting for. I want to talk about it a little bit more. Can we believe this? Is there something going on behind the scenes? Let's talk about it. Let me bring in former federal prosecutor Rena Paul. Rena, thank you so much for taking the time. Does this conclusion from the FBI based on these communications, does this surprise you that there's no evidence that anybody else had been abusing girls, that Epstein hadn't trafficked any of these victims to anybody else?
Well, I think we should start by talking about this as an investigation, right? And to understand what has come out, to think about it through the lens of an investigation by the government and the disclosures by the government as conclusions rather than the raw evidentiary material. So we're starting there. So when you ask if it's surprising, I mean, I think we have to start with the question of what we are actually seeing.
Okay, and so based on what we're seeing in these releases and based on what we're seeing in these internal communications and emails where they say, we can't find any photos or videos of women or girls being abused by anybody other than Maxwell and Epstein. There are those who say, how is that possible? Unless it was all rumors, unless, of course, Epstein never kept the cameras in those rooms, or he never had any evidence of anybody. He wouldn't record them. Let's just start there.
Yeah, so it seems from what I've reviewed that there's notes of there being sexually explicit material, or CSAM, as they call it in the DOJ, right? So there is definitely digital evidence, it seems, from what has been reported. And in considering what that digital evidence can show, we have to think like an investigator again. So think about what may be on a hard drive, on a computer, on a phone, and what it would mean to prove whether a certain person engaged in a certain act and whether or not that would be a recorded act or it would just be the recording of an alleged victim that we would be seeing with no connection to anybody else.
No, of course. And there was and as we said, there's a difference, right? He had apparently this material. It just wasn't of anybody in his homes or in general abusing these individuals. And there could have been a whole case built against him just by having this materials. But again, people would say, is it surprising that Epstein didn't maintain this kind of footage and documentary evidence against other people, unless, of course, no one else engaged in any of the abuse of these women or these girls? Because some people would say he was so rich, he was so powerful, why wouldn't he keep blackmail material, and wouldn't it have been in his possession, and wouldn't it have been accessed by federal prosecutors and authorities if they collected all this evidence from their home? I mean, to be clear, just to set it again, when they looked at all the material, their responsive requests were quite broad. They were looking basically for anything from anybody that was under 30. So I'm going to just assume that, taking that as true, if it was there, they would have found it, and it would have been a part of the criminal cases, or it would have been part of this production release. So now we have to say, maybe Epstein never kept this. And if that's the case, somebody as rich and powerful as him, with his kind of connections, allegations that he had ties to other countries, what have you, I guess he's not the blackmailer that people thought?
Whoa.
What's that?
I just built a budgeting app in Base 44.
Guys, Nina just built an app.
Impossible.
Well, it's impossible for us to know, right? We're all speculating on what we're seeing that is released. But in thinking again like an investigator, which is when I'm looking at materials, large volumes of materials, and as someone who has done sex crimes investigations and routinely works on large investigations, you got to think about where evidence would lie. And we are, we're basing what we're talking about on the reporting of what's been reported in media, what's been reported by the DOJ, and that is limited to what has been found, right, or reported to have been found. So where would evidence be stored if you were keeping it as someone who didn't want it to be found? Perhaps there are other places where it could be found and it just wasn't found.
What about the fact that the financial records don't detail any evidence of him engaging in some sort of sex trafficking ring? I even mentioned there was payments to models, but they couldn't be proven that he was soliciting them for prostitution to men. The financial records can sometimes tell a lot of a case. Apparently not here.
Yeah, in many cases they can. It is not my understanding, though I think you're probably well more briefed on the Maxwell case than me, but that during that case, money transactions form the basis of that evidence. Rather, I think that was more of a grooming and recruitment theory, right? And so the question of financial records would really come more into play if there was money that was being exchanged. That's first. And second is, well, what are we talking about when we're talking about financial records again? Thinking like an investigator, we have to think about what a financial record could show us. So just because there's a transaction doesn't necessarily show us what we're looking to find, right? So you have to make sense of what the payments are for. And financial records, we also have to think about what the universe of financial records could be. Are we talking about bank records? Are we talking about crypto records? Are we talking about, what kind of currency and what kind of finances are we talking about? Are we talking about cash? And which would be more traceable and investigatable as a government agency?
And that's fair. And when it came to Maxwell, it was about the idea, right? They would bring these girls in and then they would have them recruit other girls. And that was kind of the network that was being built up. From a prosecutorial point of view, from a legal point of view, somebody's looking at this and saying, wait a minute, I'm looking at these filings and they're identifying certain people or they're redacting certain other people. And they say, there's not enough evidence to charge this person, or limited evidence regarding involvement. What does that mean? So for a layperson, what does that mean? Because some people say, okay, but there's something. Shouldn't they go out and look for more? Shouldn't they begin more thorough investigations? It's not like they're saying they're completely exonerated. It's just we don't have enough to charge, or we don't have enough there that they were involved. What does that mean?
When you're talking about an investigation, you have to do an investigation by a standard. So in the criminal system, that standard is beyond a reasonable doubt. That's a very high standard. So conducting an investigation in the criminal sector means, can I find evidence that certain...
Okay, so at the end of the day, the FBI found nothing. That's what they basically telling us. And so if anybody that was being, what do you call it, accused of anything, let's go here. Let's see. This TMZ.
What was your favorite leftover meal?
I used to have a lot of pasta pre-game.
Do you have other money saving?
Over the Super Bowl weekend, people continue to sift through the millions of Epstein files released by the DOJ, and the theories just become more and more shocking. Now, aside from the Associated Press releasing a bombshell review of internal Justice Department records showing what kind of materials the FBI was collecting on Epstein, which is absolutely huge, by the way, and we'll get into that later. And aside from the new drama with the Clintons agreeing to testify in the House Epstein probe, Ghislaine Maxwell will be testifying today before the U.S. House Oversight and Government Reform Committee in a closed-door virtual deposition from prison. That's what I want to get into first. According to USA Today, Ghislaine Maxwell, who is currently serving a 20-year sentence for conspiring to entice minors to travel for illicit sex, planned to invoke her Fifth Amendment privilege against self-incrimination to avoid answering questions from the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee. Now, the assertion of the Fifth Amendment came despite her answering questions in July from Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche. We released an article where we talk about U.S. Representative Ro Khanna firing off a letter to House Oversight Committee Chair James Comer, and this is really, really interesting. Now, the letter reads as follows.
Tomorrow starts today. Train for a healthcare career with Carrington College. Gain the skills to start your dream healthcare career or build on your experience.
It is my understanding that Miss Ghislaine Maxwell intends to invoke her Fifth Amendment privilege against self-incrimination and decline to answer all substantive questions at her upcoming deposition before the House Oversight Committee. This position appears inconsistent with Miss Maxwell's prior conduct, as she did not invoke the Fifth Amendment when she previously met with Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche to discuss substantially similar subject matter. And that meeting with Todd Blanche that he's referencing isn't the only time Maxwell has spoken about her work for Epstein. Take a look at this video of Ghislaine being deposed during the Virginia Guthrie defamation lawsuit back in 2016.
Can you list for me all the girls that you have met and brought to Jeffrey Epstein's house that were under the age of 18?
Check the Foreman Foundation.
I could only recall my family members that were there, and I could not make a list of anyone else because that never happened. But I can think of. I'm talking about during the time that you were working for Jeffrey Epstein. Right. Can you list all the girls that you found for Jeffrey Epstein that were under the age of 18 to come work for him in any capacity?
Check the Foreman Foundation.
So I didn't find girls. I didn't look for them. You choose the word.
Well, no, you don't choose the word. If you have a question, ask it.
List all of the girls that you met and brought to Jeffrey Epstein's home for the purposes of employment that were under the age of 18.
Check the Foreman Foundation.
I've already characterized what my job was, which was to find people, adults, professional people, to do the types of jobs that I listed before. Pool person, secretary, house person, chef, pilot, but I'm talking about individuals under the age of 18, not adult persons, individuals under the age of 18. I only looked for people or tried to find people to fill professional jobs in professional situations. Under the age of 18, correct? I think we've established was 17 and is she masseuse. I'm sorry, go ahead. Is she the only individual that you met for purposes of hiring someone for Jeffrey that was under the age of 18?
Check the Foreman Foundation. This characterizes their testimony.
So I didn't hire people. I didn't use the word hire. Yes, you did. I said met. So I interviewed people for jobs that were professional people for professional things, and I'm not aware of anyone aside from who clearly was a masseuse aged 17, but that's, at least that's how far we know that I can think of that fulfilled any professional capacity for Jeffrey. List all the people under the age of 18 that you interacted with at any of Jeffrey's properties. I'm not aware of anybody that I interacted with.
That's a dumb question. She set herself up for that answer.
Still trading with slow platforms?
Anyway,
Upgrade to
appreciate y'all
TradeZero
tuning in
America.
so far.
TradeZero
Shout out
gives
my
you
YouTube
professional-grade
chat, shout out
trading
my
platforms
Twitch
built
chat.
for active U.S. trade.
Thank y'all for streaming. Thank y'all for tuning in to the stream. Make sure y'all press the like button, comment, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. Don't forget to hit the hype stars. Let them put a brother in the algorithm. It's so happy to be back with y'all on YouTube, man. Y'all say what's up.
What has also caught the attention of people is Bill Clinton speaking out about his testimony in the House Epstein probe not being televised, writing on X, formerly Twitter, saying, "I have called for the full release of the Epstein files. I have provided a sworn statement of what I know. And just this week, I've agreed to appear in person before the committee. But it's still not enough for Republicans on the House Oversight Committee. Now, Chairman Comer says he wants cameras, but only behind closed doors. Who benefits from this arrangement? It's not Epstein's victims who deserve justice. It's not the public who deserve the truth. It serves only partisan interests. This is not fact-finding. It's pure politics." Now, as all this is going on, the Justice Department has begun allowing lawmakers to examine unredacted versions of the millions of documents. This is significant because it means some members of Congress will be able to see the names in there that have been redacted. And in recent days, a report has been released by the Associated Press stating that the FBI concluded Jeffrey Epstein wasn't running a sex trafficking ring for powerful men. According to the Associated Press, while investigators collected evidence that Epstein sexually abused underage girls, they found scant evidence the well-connected financier led a sex trafficking ring serving powerful men, an Associated Press review of internal Justice Department records shows. Last week, I talked about CBS reporting that there was a contradiction regarding official accounts on the night Epstein died in prison. I want to talk about that a little bit more. According to Reuters in 2019, the FBI was studying 2 broken cameras outside the cell where Epstein died. The Washington Post reported that at least 1 camera in the hallway outside Epstein's cell had footage that was unusable.
Do y'all think he killed himself or not? Y'all think this is a cover-up and he's somewhere ducked off? Or did he really kill himself and what you call it, we just can't let things be what they really are? I don't know. Put it in the chat.
The newspaper said there was other usable footage captured in that area. To give you a look at what this footage may look like, take a look at this different angle within the prison, around the area where Epstein was being held. Last week, Trump also took a moment to address his name appearing in the Epstein files, saying this. Watch the clip.
What do you think of the latest release of Epstein files, and do you think your critics will be satisfied with?
Well, they should be, because it looked like this guy Wolf, who's a writer, was conspiring with Epstein to do harm to me. And I didn't see it myself, but I was told by some very important people that not only does it absolve me, it's the opposite of what people were hoping, the radical left.
I know
a third-rate writer was conspiring with Jeffrey Epstein to hurt me, politically or otherwise, and that came through loud and clear. So we'll probably sue Wolf on that. And maybe the Epstein estate, I guess. I don't know, but we're going to certainly sue Wolf.
You want to sue the Epstein estate?
Well, you may, I guess so, because he was conspiring with Wolf to do harm to me politically. That's not a friend.
Now, we always read the comments and we're always interested to hear what you guys have to say. What do you think about what Trump just said? Do you think there's any validity to it? And also, what do you think will happen when Congress members see the unredacted versions of the files? Let us know down below. As always, I'm Jackson Buhai, and I will see you guys in the next one.
While the House Oversight Committee continues to investigate the Epstein files, I want to give them a little bit of advice. They might want to consider including an investigation into Epstein's death specifically.
That part.
Because now, thanks to the Epstein files, we're learning some more fascinating information, let's just put it that way, that makes us maybe question the official narrative surrounding Epstein's death. Now, I personally have always been suspicious of the allegation that he took his own life. I don't believe that he did. Okay, I suspect that something else happened, potentially foul play. And the reason why I think that is because there had already been inconsistencies that made me question this. But now we have more. So, thanks to the DOJ's release of the Epstein files, we discovered that prosecutors wrote an announcement about Epstein's death a day before he was discovered dead. So let's take a look at the document in question. It says United States Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York. And if you look at the date, right there on the top left-hand corner, it says Friday, August 9th, 2019. He was discovered dead on the 10th. Okay, so this document can be found among the dozens of documents in the disclosure labeled as Statements from the Southern District of New York's U.S. Attorney's Office. And again, as you can see, dated August 9th, Epstein was discovered dead August 10th. And look, to be fair, accidents happen, mistakes happen. They might have just made a mistake and wrote the wrong date, typed in the wrong date. This doesn't necessarily prove that there's foul play. But you might want to take a step back and think about all the other questionable things that have come up surrounding Epstein's death. For instance, we also learned something else that raises questions recently. Newly released Department of Justice documents show that investigators reviewing surveillance footage from the night of Jeffrey Epstein's death observed an orange-colored shape moving up a staircase toward the isolated, locked tier where his cell was located at approximately 10:39 p.m. on August 9th, 2019. Fascinating. So there's a still from the video that's been circulating online, and I want to show it to you. The spotlight is on the orange figure that CBS News was reporting on. And by the way, kind of shocking that CBS News reported on this in the first place. But nonetheless, they write that the entry in an observation log of the video from the Metropolitan Correctional Center appears to suggest something previously unreported by authorities. Quote, a flash of orange looks to be going up the L-tier stairs, could possibly be an inmate escorted up to that tier. But the FBI, interestingly enough, had a different version, had a different interpretation from the Inspector General logs. So the FBI log describes the fuzzy image as possibly an inmate. The Inspector General logs it as an officer carrying orange linen or bedding, noting it in their final report as an unidentified corrections officer. Now, the final report by the Inspector General stated the following. At approximately 10:39 p.m., an unidentified correctional officer appeared to walk up the L-tier stairway and then appeared within view of the camera at 10:41 p.m. Now, official reports do state that Epstein died by suicide sometime before 6:30 a.m. If you're wondering about the timing, they don't have an exact or specific time when he died. And his body was discovered by a corrections officer delivering his breakfast. So he was discovered in the morning. Now, the official review of Epstein's death does not even mention the figure in orange, which is weird. Why not? Bill Barr and others claimed that no one entered Epstein's housing tier the night of his death. Not just that they didn't enter his cell, that they didn't enter his housing tier. That's what they said. Okay, Dan Bongino, who used to be the deputy FBI director before he stepped down, said on Fox and Friends that there's video clear as day. He's, meaning Epstein's, the only person in there and the only person coming out. You can see it. No mention of the yellow figure. And there's also some interesting in-depth analysis that CBS did. And honestly, I'm not being sarcastic here. Here's what they found. This is so fascinating. In an in-depth analysis of surveillance video from the jail, CBS News previously reported on the figure on the stairs and consulted independent video analysts who said the movement was more consistent with an inmate or someone wearing an orange prison uniform than a corrections officer, which obviously makes sense. Why would a corrections officer be wearing that bright yellow inmate color? That That doesn't make any sense at all. So CBS interviewed prison employees who said that escorting an inmate at that hour would have been highly unusual. Okay, a separate internal presentation included in the document release described a corrections officer believed by investigators to be Corrections Officer Tova Noel carrying linen or inmate clothing up to the tier. However, get a load of this. The 2023 Inspector General report did not identify Noel as the figure seen in the footage. In her interview, Noel told investigators distributing linen was not part of her duties. Quote, "I never gave out linen, ever," she said.
All right.
Because that's done on the shift prior.
Trying to cover something up.
But there's more. Then there's the fact that a noose was never definitively identified. I'm not making that up. A noose has never been definitively identified. Remember, he hanged himself allegedly. That's how he allegedly committed suicide.
Right, so how the heck?
Well, investigators say that they interviewed corrections officer Michael Thomas, who said he told them that he discovered Epstein in his cell shortly after 6:30 in the morning on August 10th, and that he ripped Epstein down from the hanging position.
You know that moment right before you launch something new, that pit in your stomach? I remember when I started TYT, I thought to myself, what if no one watches? What if we run out of money tomorrow? It was scary. Still think about that every once in a while, but you push through, and having the right tools makes all the difference. Like when we launched Shop TYT, Shopify was a lifesaver. We used it and we loved it. If you're starting a business, those what ifs can be terrifying, and that's where Shopify comes in. What if I can't build a good looking website? Shopify has hundreds of templates to build a beautiful online store that actually matches your brand. What if people haven't heard of my brand? Shopify helps you to get the word out with easy to run email and social campaigns. What if I get stuck or have a question in the process? Their award-winning 24/7 support is there with expert advice. And the best part, that iconic purple Shop Pay button. It's why Shopify has the best converting checkout on the planet. Less abandoned carts, more sales for you. It's time to turn those what ifs into with Shopify today. Sign up for your $1 per month trial today at shopify.com/TYT. Go to shopify.com/TYT. That's shopify.com/TYT.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44.
All right, there we go.
When investigators asked him, okay, well, what happened to the noose? He said, I don't recall. This is a direct quote. I don't recall taking the noose off. I really don't. I don't recall taking the thing from around his neck. The other corrections officer, the woman we were talking about earlier, Tova Noel, said that she never saw a noose around Epstein's neck. Now, according to the Inspector General's report, a noose collected at the scene was later determined not to be the ligature used in Epstein's death.
So how did he choke himself out?
So where's the noose?
Where? All right.
How did he hang himself? This is insane. And look, maybe these revelations alone are not enough to make you question the claim that Epstein died by suicide.
I don't think he did.
But again, if you take a step back, there are other things that should raise eyebrows for sure. So for instance, Epstein's former cellmate, Nicholas Tartaglione, claimed in a pardon petition filed last summer and recently obtained by the Daily Beast that Epstein was deliberately left unprotected in federal custody. Why would they do that? Okay, well, maybe they made a mistake. But he also says, and he's a former police officer convicted of multiple murders, alleged that prison officials knowingly housed Epstein with an accused mass murderer despite earlier reports that the disgraced financier had raised concerns about his safety weeks before his death. Why would a guy on the verge of committing suicide be concerned about his safety?
Right.
Makes you wonder. So, as much as the Trump administration tried to redact the hell out of the Epstein files, we're still learning some pretty fascinating things from that file dump. And aside from investigating potential co-conspirators and their alleged predatory behavior, I think that there should be a full investigation into how Epstein actually died. because I'm not buying for a second that he committed suicide. That's my take. That's my speculation. But we'll see. We'll see if we ever get any real justice in this country when it comes to one of the biggest scandals and cover-ups in this nation's history.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.
All right, man. We're going to do one more real quick. Back to Chop More Raw.
The Epstein files and the alleged cover-up surrounding it is getting deeper and deeper by the day. And one of the newest things that I've just uncovered is an apparent escape plan by Jeffrey Epstein himself while he was in jail. And knowing that allegedly there was some kind of plan for him to actually escape the prison, it does make you think, hey, maybe it didn't go down the way that they say. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say. All right, I've got a bunch of links that I'm gonna break down in this video. I'm gonna tell you all about the alleged story. Okay, that apparently Epstein's jail cell, there was some plans of action in there. Okay, that haven't really been talked about. So the first thing I want to show you, okay, is from the YouTuber Dr. G Explains, and he recently did a deep dive into Epstein's personal jail cell, not physically, but metaphorically speaking, with his research, and he would uncover what appeared to be a bona fide escape plan. Yep, was trying to escape. It's insane.
My eye first, where it says red notice, and I put equals EXT.
Peter Pan here. You know, I thought growing up would be the worst. Bills.
If you don't know what a red notice is, that's an alert that Interpol puts out if there is a fugitive on the loose. If there's someone that is internationally wanted, a red notice notifies agencies that if this person is found, then you extradite them back to the country where they are being looked for. So that's why it says red notice equals EXT. So if there's a red notice out for him, then he will be set up for extradition. That was my first clue that if we're looking at all of this in context, that he was planning on getting out of the country. That was his goal by writing all of this down. Now, from the red notice, there is an arrow pointing back up to this main circle right here. So that means that if he's MIA in the U.S., in other words, if he's missing, so this would be shorthand basically saying he's missing. For anybody that's watching this that isn't from the U.S., I'm going to try my best to explain various acronyms the way that we would do them here. So MIA would be a way to say that he's missing. So if he's MIA in the U.S., then a red notice would occur. Then a red notice would be set out by Interpol.
He could be talking about Miami. MIA U.S., could be trying to get to Miami to get out of the country maybe, but he's saying MIA, there will be an Interpol red notice if he is missing in action from the prison. No shit. Okay, well, the only way that you could be missing in action without anybody worrying about it and putting out a red notice is if you weren't alive.
That's what that arrow means. But if we're to look at this circle, right, MIA US, let's look at some of the various branches of this. So visas would suggest that he's going to be planning on going out of the country. He would need to fake his name. It would have to be fake visas, but he would need visas. Something I guess he was considering is that he wrote no rights. So it could be, depending on the country he goes to, his rights might be different. Interestingly, he wrote tourism here. Now, if he was planning on leaving the country, whether or not he would be posing as a tourist or whether or not he would be going to places that have tourism, there's some consideration about tourism because I'm pretty certain that's what that says. It either says tourism or tourist. His handwriting is so bad. You'll see in a second where the confusion is there. Now up here it says EXT tax. It could be EST tax, but I think that what this is estate tax. So in other words, if he is to die, how much money goes to estate tax, or that he's considering the estate tax right here. Another branch has banks, so obviously something that he's going to have to consider if he's going to have access to money. Now, here's one that I am somewhat less confident in, is that there's a name written here with dollar signs next to it. I put a question mark because I don't know what letter that is, but it does look like BLCH, like NIL or something like that, but this is very clearly a name and clearly associated with money. And below that, you can see it says guards. It says guards clear as day. That is 100% what this says. So whether or not that means that he needs guards, whether or not that has to do with prison guards, that's unclear, but that is very clearly stating guards right underneath this name and the dollar signs.
So look, there's a lot of different things that went into consideration. The fact that they're saying estate tax, that looks like EXT tax, but exit tax maybe. It sounded like there was a real plan involved, okay? And the fact that it's like he's plotting out, thinking, what could I actually be, what could potentially go wrong? How could I work this out? How can I get away with this? It is insanity, okay? Now, Dr. G would later note in this video, he would examine these things further, and he would find specific mentions of a nearby airport and a possible mention, you won't believe this, of using medical as a way to get out of the prison. Listen to this.
Now, on the right here, we see it says jet-US prop. Now, what that means is that he's thinking about whether or not the jet that he would be traveling in is U.S. property. Epstein and his associates were obsessed with aircraft registration, jurisdiction, things like that, and that's what jet U.S. prop would be. He's thinking about whether or not the jet he's traveling in is in fact U.S. property, because that does change some things jurisdictionally, as well as whether or not there's seizure and all of these other potential issues that could come up. So the fact that he's thinking about that is important. What else is important is that jet U.S. prop was written in a different color. Most of these were written in blue ink. Jet U.S. prop was written in black ink. Now, the reason that matters is that means that this was enough of a plan that where he wrote it out and he came back to it. It wasn't just sketched out and thrown away. He came back with additional thoughts later on. Now, below.
That's smart, right? Came back with a different pen. Came back. He was actually planning this out. This wasn't just the random little brain. This was serious.
Oh, that. You can see this little scribbled box with the word Brad on top. I'm going to scroll up so you can see it without my comments on it. So you see it's a little square with a little building next to it, and on the left I interpret this as an airplane, at least I believe that's what it is, or it could be additional buildings, but it very, very clearly has the word Brad written on top. And then below it and to the right of it, you see what I interpret as supposed to be where cars and planes are parked. I think this right here is a little airplane. So when I saw this, I immediately thought it looked like a private airport, because this shape and design of the building is unusual. Airports are low and they're large. It's a very distinct look. So I was curious what the closest private airport is. The closest private airport to where he was is Teterboro. It also is one of the busiest.
Ironically, right, if you remember from the previous videos that I covered, Teterboro is where he landed from Paris and ended up getting arrested by the feds. So he's trying to get back to that airport that he came in on.
I was curious if he'd ever actually been there, so I typed it in the Epstein files, and it showed that it's been mentioned about 7,000 times. So this is definitely one he's familiar with. It does seem to resemble at least this style of airport. I'm not insisting it is this one, but it certainly looks quite a lot like it. So if nothing else, this lends credence to the idea that this building he's drawing is a private airport. He is thinking about getting to a private airport based on everything else he's saying and getting out of there. And the name Brad is associated with that. Who that is that a pilot? Is that somebody who would help him get there? That's unclear, but the name Brad is very, very clearly written on top of that airport. And you may be thinking, well, he's just fantasizing about escaping, and that may be part of it. I think the unusual aspect of that is that he would put a specific name with it, that he would write a name on top of the airport. Now, as far as I know, Brad does not stand for anything. It's not an acronym for anything. I take that in a very literal sense as a name. Now, as you can see right here, a portion is redacted. All we can see is that something was underlined. I would absolutely love to know what this said, because something here is very important because it's underlined many times. But if we're to look to the right of that, it said medical/PT. Now, the way I interpret that, PT typically is shorthand for patient. It very clearly says medical. So the question would be, is that how he's thinking about being transported as a medical patient? Possibly. So if we're
as a medical patient, as a cadaver, could have gone a few different ways, right? Now, the most damning evidence would apparently come later on, okay, from a final set of scribbled notes that specifically lists blankets, the facility's camera system, and again, it mentions medical. So once you start hearing this, you start thinking, okay, I feel like...
Look, man, I really think that he had enough money to be able to pull something like this off. You know what I mean? It wouldn't be the first time that somebody's tried to escape from prison, but it'd be one of the first time that you've seen somebody try to escape from prison that was a billionaire and that could really get little. You know what I'm saying? If everybody already think that he gone. And like I said, they said that some dude was named Stefan something, Del Cox or something like that. He bought Epstein Island. I'm like, who is the money going to? You know what I'm saying? I mean, clearly he has in a estate, but a cool extra $60 million to add to the pot while I'm on the run. That don't sound bad to me. You know?
I feel like maybe we're starting to get to the gist of what might have gone down here. And bear in mind, he made a suspicious phone call the night before it all went down, where he offed himself.
I stand for something else, but once again, they are coded. He does not want this to be obvious what he's talking about. But the more significant part is directly below that. Jail out equals 10. Now, that seems pretty clear. He's talking about getting out of jail. Now, what does the 10 stand for? Is he paying somebody $10 million? Is it 10 o'clock? What is 10? All we know is that he is saying jail out equals.
Shout out at the Not So Perfect Crafter, man. Appreciate you tuning in. I think he's still alive too. I don't know. None of us have a for sure. But I'm saying he had enough money to try to make something pop. You know what I mean? Shout out at the. Once again, shout out at the Not So Perfect Crafter. I appreciate you tuning in. Thank you for the comment. Make sure you subscribe if you're not subscribed already. We trying to get to that 500 mark. They had me banned for a week, man. I've been suspended for a week, but we back now. All right, let's get it popping.
10, and I think that's extremely consequential, particularly given the context of the other page we looked at. Now below it, it's some of this is written very clearly, but it's unclear what he's referring to. So he says nothing at all, and then the last word, straw, show. I just can't read those middle letters enough to make that make sense. And then below that, no, it looks like it says no sign me, but it definitely says no something me. So this obviously pairs together with the jail out equals 10, but he just writes so strangely, it's impossible to give you full context, and I don't want to make any major assumptions about what this is saying. So now this is the last page, blankets, AVR, and Medi, and then it says watch, exclamation point. Now this is very interesting because he had an excessive amount of blankets in his prison cell. We know that. That's very well documented. Yeah. That was acknowledged in the OIG report, actually. So the fact that he had excessive blankets is a fact. AVR, the cameras were not working. So we know for a fact the cameras did not work at that time. And the last one is Medi, which is how people that think he escaped would have done it, would have been through medical. Then he says, watch, exclamation point. So what is it that he's watching for? Something to do with the blankets, the AVR, or the Medi. But those are three of the big things that had to be taken care of if he was actually going to pull off something like this. So I think this page, despite the fact it's just a couple of words, could potentially be very consequential. All right,
So look. All right, they're saying those are the things that were mentioned that would have to be taken care of if this was going to work. Well, it just so happens those were the things that were taken care of, all right? And the mention of blankets is far from a minor detail too, because blankets were apparently used by the guards to make a fake body in order to transport Epstein's actual body out of there without media knowledge, okay? This was posted. It says Epstein's suicide, FD 302. They literally built a fake body out of boxes and sheets or blankets to sneak his real corpse past the media. Insanity, right? I've already spoken about this before.
And when have you ever heard of somebody trying to sneak a corpse out a different direction so that the media wouldn't follow them? Like, why wouldn't they want anybody to actually see that, okay, he's dead, they actually took him to where they said they were taking him? Unless they was trying to hide something. What are you trying to hide? All right.
But let's just do it again, all right? Let's just do it again, because this is mental that this has been allowed to happen, all right? Blank was with Epstein's body and had secured the scene. Blank remained with COs and Blank until personnel from the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner arrived to transport Epstein to their facility. Due to the large news and media presence outside the MCC, male OCME official called and said he would be arriving at the loading dock with a black vehicle. In order to thwart the media, Blank used boxes and sheets. Boxes and sheets, aka blankets, to create what appeared to be a human body, which was put into the white OCME vehicle, which the press followed, allowing the black vehicle to depart unnoticed with Epstein's body. All right. After OCME departed with Epstein's body, Blank returned to MCC and wrote a memo containing the timeline of events and a recount of previous night's phone call. Okay. What on earth is going on here? Okay. What on earth is going on here?
Some white
insanity,
people,
okay? And another
stuff.
Reddit post would uncover the potential money trail aligned with the events that occurred in the jail, okay? This is insanity, right? Look at this one, okay? This is, I think I may have found wire transfers for Epstein's prison escape. As promised by Steve Bannon, follow the money. The account was closed in July 18th, 2019, approximately 1 month before the Epstein switch/escape happened. More on this later, but it fits the timeline of messages and the fake setup, hanging, and threat from Epstein prison mate that happened in June and July of 2019, putting Epstein solo in a special cell with limited guards that didn't check on him during the hours he was extracted and or switched. Okay, I have seen this before. This basically just outlines a whole bunch of bank transfers, St. Thomas Virgin Islands, a review of the activity, basically a check deposit of $250,000. There was wire transfers of $2 and $3 million, a $650 transfer $866,905.
I dare you to let me build you a completely free e-commerce store
going on, man.
preloaded with
fishy going on.
$1.5 million and $2.5 million. Okay, $3,591. A whole lot of cash is changing hands, basically. Okay, a review of public media information identified Jeffrey Epstein as the 100% owner of one of the accounts. Right? Whoopsie doodles. Okay, now this is a big breakdown that somebody has done as well. Okay, this is an interesting comment and this digs into it deeply. Okay, it links the official link that's in the Department of Justice files. It says, I think this may be a major development. Update with chronology of events in a major new financial up.
Hold on real quick. At the Not So Perfect Crowd, he said, he is too involved, a very important person. He knew too much and the government didn't want him to get any further on what he knew with what he was up to. He was into loads of naughty stuff. Yeah, naughty stuff is one thing though, but being freaky does not, dictate what's going on as far as like on the violent side of things. You know what I mean? Like with us going to war with other people now, if he was sitting there and getting like foreign leaders to get involved in stuff like that, and then got some dirt on them and was trying to blackmail them so that we can have the upper hand as America, I can see some stuff like that popping off. But like destroying the innards of what we got going on in America, like it don't make sense to me. You know what I mean? Like he knew a lot though. He definitely had his hand in the upper echelon cookie jar. You know what I mean?
On December the 8th, 2018, Jeffrey Epstein and Steve Bannon had a conversation discussing their potential upcoming court cases where Bannon promises to bring Jeffrey somewhere without extradition, plan in motion, all started before this date. On February 2019, Epstein pays U.S. Virgin Islands the $75,000 fee for South Country to operate as a domestic financial institution, aka a limited or small bank. Southern Country is a company he set up in the Virgin Islands, which links up to his escape plans and moving money around globally. Southern Country used to be domiciled in Florida as Financial Strategy Group Incorporated. More on Southern Country later and its bank information and reasons like deploy capital, but you can search for that term. On April the 12th, 17th, and 27th, Epstein moved money around. On April the 26th, 2019, and throughout 2019, Jeffrey Epstein transferred money from Deutsche Bank and other banks around in higher frequency as normal than in other years, even in 09 and 014. Links on that later. May 13th, 2019, Epstein sells stocks and liquidates his TD Ameritrade and Schwab accounts and sends the stocks to Southern Country. Now, all of the money is where it needs to be and all the people involved are paid. All of the countries involved are paid and his residency and secret non-extradition location is set up. On June the 11th, 2019, the account from First Bank of Puerto Rico received wire deposits from Southern Country matching the money amounts to the shared liquidated in May 13th, 2019. I guess that meant shares. July 23rd, 2019, a staged offing by hanging happened, which brought Epstein to the special housing unit, which then allowed for the extraction to happen. We do not know if he was murdered after the extraction or if he's still alive. We still need more evidence. On August the 8th, 2019, Epstein signed his will. That's the same day the cameras were turned off, people. Jesus Christ. Right? He named Khan and Indik as executors and his brother as the beneficiary for around $500 million of clean money from legal investments to be outside the RICO, their legal theory, for his brother to be able to keep. On August the 9th, 2019, oh my God, the Department of Justice issues not one, but two different press releases the day before Epstein died or was extracted from prison. That's mental. We've already spoken about that. August the 10th, 2019, Epstein was extracted, then murdered or extracted to a location that does not have an extradition agreement with the United States as coordinated and planned by Stephen Bannon. There are posts from the prison guard on Reddit already in his actual prison report that Epstein was taken out in a wheelchair and brought to a passenger-type van with a guy in a military outfit. Okay, we're jumping the shark now. This means some kind of Israeli military attaché officer in New York from Israel's consulate may have been involved. Why has it got to be Israel? I'm sorry, but okay, I don't really get down with all the anti-Semitism, but why has it got to be Israel? Why can't it be American? We don't have Russian military folks in dress banned in the USA right now, and Chinese too, so could be a country working on behalf of Israel or Russia. Could be American. Or Shadow Elite US military group were involved or something similar. I think Shadow Elite US military group. I feel like, look, there's a lot of bad stuff going on in the Middle East, but like when you start blaming Israel for everything, I feel like then you just start saying, okay, I feel like this is becoming a vehicle for some other views people have. But anyway, maybe that, who knows? Who knows? If I see proof of that, we'll see. But it says, I do not think the US was involved in this. From how the money is moving around and the players involved, we need more information and unredacted financials. Those will prove everything. They're saying this is interesting and follow the money is usually the right instinct. What stands out to me is the financials isn't even one specific transaction, but the scale and professionalism of it all, the volume, the number of organizations involved, and the use of established financial institutions make it look more like a formal business operation than an under-the-radar situation, okay? Now, in the recent file dump, okay, details in relation to one of the security guards, Tova Noel, were released, okay, and this is also leading people to believe something off was going on. It says a couple details about Tova Noel, one of the guards on duty when Epstein died, in the FBI evidence. Okay.
We need a small business loan fast. I got this. Loan cannon!
There's a better way to get a fast small.
It says suspicious activity report received from JP Morgan Chase regarding Tova Noel, saying he might have got there's suspicious activity from the bank account. That's what they say. And they say there's some suspicious activity in the bank account. Okay. It's crazy. Now, people saying, I would think this is possible, that this is Sean Cohn. He killed his girlfriend pretty soon after Epstein's death. I mean, how do we know? There's a different name. What the hell? Sean Gregory Cohn versus Sean Christopher Cohn, not seeing what connection you're trying to find. Crazy guy with a similar name murdered his girlfriend. It says, I read through Tova Noel's testimony last night. She admitted to falsifying documents, letting Epstein use the phone alone in the shower, and other ridiculous things, but it was also clear she made some sort of deal to keep things quiet. The interviewer cut her off a few times and then repeated the question in a leading way. She definitely knows something.
Something going on, man. Look, man, what y'all think? Y'all think, what do you call it, Epstein somewhere ducked off right now watching all this? Like, I did it better than Machiavelli. Or did he really kill himself? You know what I mean? This is crazy.
Every day it's something new, and it just scares me, man. It scares me. So look. Oh, my God. I'm tired of this nonsense, okay? So look. I do think those sketches are pretty crazy. The idea that there was like all these little plans and some of it lines up with what happened. The camera's being turned off. Honestly, I'm terrified at this point. I need to know what you guys think. Let me know down in the comments. I've got 2 more Epstein topics that I'm going to do today. I know you guys really want me to cover this, even though it is actually making me feel very scared and unhappy. I'm going to keep doing it, okay? Because you're telling me in the comments that this is really important stuff. Apparently, this is a good use of my talents, so I'm just going to keep it going. But I do think this is very suspicious. This little scrap paper, this little bit of writing, okay? Yeah, is definitely making you think, did he plan something? Or was he planning something and then he ultimately... I just feel like him offing himself is so unlikely. And I did see a really hilarious comment the other day where it said, like, you know, the FBI have basically deduced that Jeffrey Epstein wasn't running a trafficking ring for high-profile individuals. And I saw the top comment on Reddit was something like, man, that's so sad. He killed himself for nothing. He didn't even find out that he was innocent all along.
Oh, man.
Like, he was innocent all along. He should have waited and found out that he was innocent before he offed himself, right? What a tragedy. But anyway, let me know what you think of this video, guys. I'll be back with some more breakdowns.
Oh, man. Well, like you said, I appreciate y'all tapping in, man. If y'all like the video, we're going to cut this one to an end. I can't take no more Epstein stuff. I done had my Epstein overload. So hopefully this was interesting to you. I appreciate you tapping in. Thank you for commenting. The Not So Perfect Crafter. Thank you for the engagement. You feel me? I'm so happy to be back on YouTube again. Shout out to my Twitch stream. Thank y'all for tuning in. Like I said, like, comment, subscribe, share. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on the next one. And please hit that hype star so they can put your boy in the algorithm. Let them know that you're messing with your boy. I told you we almost up to our 500 subscribers. We have 409, so thank y'all for subscribing. Keep sharing. And if you want to support the page, man, please go to www.alledayeveryday.llc.net. Happy Black History Month as well. We did just drop the Black History Month hoodie. Let's see. You feel me? All right. Celebrate Celebrate Black History Month, February 2026. As you can see, I got the ADED right there. It's actually stitched in. You know what I'm saying? Real quality stuff going on over here. And then on the back, of course, you got a rep, ADED, all day, every day. Feel me? So, that's the... let me make this smaller now. I gotta clean my dang computer. Anyways, you see that big old cloud in the back of me, got his own collection as well. The graphic collection got the all the way down to the onesies for the babies. You feel me? Real cute-ish. You got the ADED on the back so they can represent just like they mama and they pop. Where do you get the jumper? On www.alldayeverydayllc.net. I'm gonna put it right here in the chat. www.alldayeverydayllc.net. Yeah, that's the website right there. But like I said, we got stuff all the way down to the onesies for the little babies. All right, we got all type of stuff. We got the crossbody bag for the ladies, socks, skater graphic dresses, bikinis, shirts for the kids, backpacks, and that's just the graphic collection. We got all types of stuff for you to check out. You know what I'm saying? But I got stuff for my smokers. I got people that just like to represent what country they from. We call it the Rep Your Land collection. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff on here that I created each and every single one of these designs. Like, we got blankets. I'm a musician, so I want to put something with, all the stuff that that I put my hands on as far as musically, Music is life. You got the ADED original Stay High recycled baseball jersey. I got this one. This thing clean as hell. And the thing about this is, man, if you see the way it look on the screen is the way it's gonna look when they show up to your front door. All quality stuff. And right now, if you put the word black in the discount code box at checkout, you get 20% off on your order, your full order. You feel me? So, yeah, just go check it out, man. Like I said, baseball jerseys, got the basketball jersey. Get lifted. That's for my smokers. What else? We got the football jersey over here. Just repping all day, every day. So yeah, that's that. www.alldayeverydayllc.net. Alrighty. Boom. And that's that. And I appreciate y'all tapping in once again, man. Make sure y'all press that like button.
You have now tuned in with your favorite dark-skinned friend with a beard.
That part. And once again, thank y'all. YouTube, thank y'all for taking my suspension off, because I was going crazy this week streaming on Facebook. Facebook was just, they was hoeing me over there. They was acting like they didn't know who a brother was. Over here, at least I get to talk to at least one or two people. And then, now that they, once they figure out that we back, we're going to get it back popping. Twitch, I love y'all. Let's keep growing that page. And, I said, one stream at a time, man. ADED family, all day, every day. I'll see y'all on the next one, all right? One.